One. Let's wait for it to say I'm live. There it goes, says I'm live. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to a unique show on this channel. Tonight we're going to be hosting a debate, a very different type of debate. It will be a flat Earth debate, but it'll not be between any flat Earthers. It will be between two globe Earthers. Excuse me. Tonight we have Dapper Dino. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty great.
Awesome. And fight the
Yeah.
flat Earth. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I just like it that it's still in like the 70s outside where I live.
Yeah, I know,
Fahrenheit.
right?
So
No, it
great.
is. It's like 71 where I'm at right now. Feels great.
And all those people in those cold places, they're just idiots.
Yeah. Move down to Texas so you can celebrate 70 fucking degree weather in this.
I live in Scotland.
I'm going to avoid Texas just because that's where the Bush family's from.
All right. Well, also on the other side of tonight's debate, we have Fight the Flat Earth. How you doing, FTFE?
Oh, doing a lot better than I have been the past couple of days, thank you. Yeah. So, sorry I had to postpone this. Was supposed to be yesterday, but I spent like 2 days in bed. But hey, this should be fun. I've actually got a lot of thoughts on why I do think what I think in regards to this topic. And before we started, Dapper Dino said that if I can change his mind, then he would change his mind. So I'm
Oh,
gonna try and
absolutely.
change his mind.
I mean, hey, I used to be a creationist. I can change my mind.
And
So,
then, as always, we have Sean Hufford. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Why, I'm still breathing, so I guess I'm doing all right.
And that is your normal SOS crew. All right, you guys have a great night. We'll catch you tomorrow. No, all right, no, I'm just
Bye.
kidding. Yeah, no, we have a great show tonight. Okay, so here is the topic at hand, okay? The topic at hand, and I've heard Fight the Flat Earth say this many times, so there is no running from it or hiding from it or anything like that. Fight the Flat Earth has said many times that he believes parents teaching their kids Flat Earth as truth should be considered child abuse legally. Now, is this correct, Fight the Flat Earth?
Yeah, and I'll stand by that. Honestly, it's not, depending on the definition and the place you are. I don't think it is legally considered child abuse, but I think there is arguments based on the wording of some things that maybe it could be legally considered child abuse. But I think that teaching your children that the flat Earth is the truth and that everyone is lying to you should be considered emotional or psychological child abuse.
Okay. Now, we'll get to you presenting your arguments in a moment. Let's hold off there. Quit trying to pander for votes already. So what we're going to do tonight, we are going to have a poll at the end of this debate, and I'm going to let you guys decide. Has Fight the Flat Earth convinced you that he is right? Whether you believe that to begin with or not, do you believe that he is right, or do you believe that Dapper Dino is right? And there'll be two answers. One will be, I believe this before, and Fight the Flat Earth has strengthened my argument, or I did not hold this belief, and I now hold this belief because of Fight the Flat Earth's argument. And same goes with Dapper Dino. Now, Dapper, you're going to be holding the opposing position tonight on that on this topic. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am. I definitely do not think that it's a good thing to do to your kids, and I definitely do not endorse or encourage it. I think it's terrible. Well, yeah, I think it's overall a pretty bad thing to do to your kids. But I have a pretty high bar for when I think something should be considered legally actionable in terms of really anything, including child
Yeah.
abuse. So for me, it's not a matter of is it good or bad. It's obviously bad, but not everything that I think you could do to a kid that's bad should be considered legal child abuse. I think some things should just be dealt with social consequences, like people shouldn't associate with people who do these things. But having the government step in a legal case is a very different matter.
Okay. So
yeah.
the format for tonight will be 10 minutes for one or the other, as well as 10 minutes for the other person. Two 10-minute sessions to present arguments for each side, as well as two 10-minute open discussions, but each discussion will be focused on the other person's presented evidence. So it's not going to be just a rebuttal. It's also going to be an open discussion during the rebuttal. And then we'll finish it off with a 20 to 30-minute open discussion, just whether or not, after you've presented the points or whatnot, or, refuting the other person's rebuttal or whatever the case may be. So, Dapper, you're you're not, I was going to say rookie. You're the visitor here, okay? This is home turf for Fight the Flat Earth. So I'm going to give you the option. Would you like to present evidence first, or would you like to let Fight the Flat Earth present evidence first?
I think I might as well just go ahead.
Okay.
Because
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, never mind. I had nothing.
Okay, so Fight the Flat Earth. I want you to go ahead and mute your mic. Give me 1 second
Roger,
to get
Roger.
a timer set up for us. I actually think vMix has a built-in timer, but I don't know how to use it. So instead of trying to learn it, let me just go ahead and get it started. All right,
I just
Dapper.
used a cell phone. Yep, that's me.
All right, when you're ready, get it going.
All right, so like I said before, I don't think that teaching your kids the flat earth is a good idea. I don't think setting them up with a conspiratorial mindset is a good idea. I don't condone it. I, in fact, fairly strongly condemn it. However, to me, asking that the law get involved has a pretty high bar, because I think most people recognize that ultimately the sanction for child abuse as it affects kids is if the child abuse persists, the kids are removed from the home. And the thing is that most government-run child care for, like foster care systems and things like this are themselves pretty darn harmful to the kids. So to me, the question isn't so much, is this action bad for the kids, as it is, would it be better if the kids were actually removed and put into a foster care system because of this? And I am not convinced that that's the case simply for teaching them the flat earth. Now, there are ways you could do that I would say would count. Like, for instance, if you cloistered them inside the home and wouldn't let them out or get any access to any outside information, then okay, fine. But I would also say that that's the case for any other belief. It's not unique to flat earth. So one of the reasons that I think that this is probably not great is because, there are cases in foster care systems where kids end up missing or dead or end up being trafficked because foster care systems all over the world are not that great. And it's really just comes down to you're never as careful with other people's kids as you are with your own. And I mean, we can say, oh, that's not fair and it's not true, but I mean, it really is. When you look at actual outcomes in foster care, they're very bad. People who've gone through the system tend to have a higher crime rate, they have low grades, low graduation rates. It's not a good thing to grow up in the system if it can be avoided. And so the other problem I see is that once we start making teaching kids certain beliefs that are honestly held by the parents a case of legal child abuse, we run into the problem of who gets to decide which thoughts are thought crimes. Because that's essentially what that is. It's a thought crime. You're being jailed for honestly expressing your thoughts about a topic. Now, we're ignoring people who might be teaching their kids flat earth dishonestly. I don't know, because they don't like their kids. I don't really think that that's a big problem. So I'm willing to ignore that for now. Although if I can be shown that that's actually a real problem that happens a lot, then I will reconsider. And like I said, I'm very willing to change my mind on this. But yeah, so for instance, I live in the United States, and I wouldn't want, say, the Trump administration in charge of what I can and can't teach my kids. And I feel like maybe, Boris Johnson also can't be trusted with that. But on the other hand, I wouldn't trust anyone in any of the other parties. I wouldn't trust any of the current Democrat candidates to set what is and isn't an acceptable thing for a parent to teach a child. And that's simply because in the history of the world, whenever thought crimes have been a big thing, it's been abused. I mean, the most common examples that we see are in fascist and communist regimes, and I don't think that either the US or the UK or any Western democracy would get to that point, and if they did, it would certainly take a while. But in these extreme cases, we see people going to jail and kids being snatched away and people being disappeared for thought crimes. And so it's a territory that I am not willing to say that we should go down. And so even if this particular teaching is damaging, and I think there are a lot of teachings that are damaging to teach your kids, but for me, just the fact that you're teaching them on its own, it's hard for me to say that that is child abuse. Now, maybe if you were teaching them like, oh, you should go murder this group of people, then because that has an immediate direct effect on people outside the family, then okay. And of course, the other thing is, I do think that parents have rights, and that not liking the way that someone is raising their kids, even if that way is demonstrably suboptimal, I don't think that that's in of itself enough. So when I think of child abuse, I think of things like, actual neglect, emotional abuse in the sense of, telling the kid that they're worthless, not showing any affection, not caring about them, physical abuse like beating them, selling them into human trafficking. These are the things that I think of. But on the other hand, teaching them that the world is full of liars, I mean, it's not great, and I don't think it's true, but I don't think it's a problem on the same level as that. And I think that we should be careful to not attempt to get the law involved in matters where it may not be the best situation. And the other thing is, persecution narratives are very powerful for getting converts. If you want a group to grow, persecute them. I mean, short of persecuting them to the point where you're rounding them up and killing them, persecuting any group has a tendency to make their numbers grow, because not only is it forbidden, but they have a legitimate persecution narrative that they can push on people. And especially if you're going to go with religious flat earthers, there are a lot of religions that already have a persecution narrative that they use to help them validate their own views. So I think you might actually end up getting more flat earthers and more convicted flat earthers if you try to actually go with a legal persecution method. So I also think there's a tactical disadvantage to declaring this to be child abuse from a legal standpoint. And I think that's really all I have.
Okay.
So I'm willing to cede any other time that I have.
All right. Good deal. Give me 1 second to get to the timer. FTFE, I hope you took some notes there.
I did, yes. My first
All right.
pen didn't work. Had to go and find a new one.
Wait. Did you say pen?
Yeah.
You have a computer at your disposal. Notepad, man. Notepad.
He types at 12 words a minute.
No, I'm just used to taking notes with pen and paper. I make better notes to myself.
All right. Well, when you're ready to present your case, let me know. When you got 10 minutes, I'll start it when you start talking. Dapper, please mute.
Okay, right. First off, I want to start by saying that I don't equate it to something like physical child abuse. Beating your child, selling your child, or whatever. I don't equate it to that. But there is such thing as emotional child abuse or psychological child abuse. It is a thing that is punishable by law. So I suppose what I need to do is to try and convince you that it meets the criteria for being emotional and psychological child abuse. And I think it does meet that criteria because emotional and psychological abuse in children is defined as behavior, speech, and actions of parents, caregivers, or other significant figures in a child's life that have a negative mental impact on the child. And it's that bit that says negative mental impact that's the important part, because to teach a child that the earth is flat as a 100% truth, you have to teach them some other things. And the main thing you have to teach them is that everyone is lying to them. Their teachers are all just straight up lying to them. Anyone in authority in the government is lying to them. Everyone on the television that they see is lying to them. And imparting that kind of mindset onto a child can have extreme detrimental effects that can go on to later in life and manifest in all forms of emotional trauma that the child could have, because they have to see the world in a way where everything is a lie. And it's dangerous for anyone to think that everything is a lie, because then that can lead to a lot of other things. And I've also said that I think Flat Earth is a cult. And the reason I say that is because of the mindset that a lot of Flat Earthers have. And if you are that set in the belief that the Earth is flat and you truly believe it because you've been told that everyone is lying to you, it can affect your entire life. And one of the first debates I saw Team on when he was on the Secretary show, he debated a guy who had like lost his entire life and literally had to do his debate from his storage unit that he was living in because of everything that had gone wrong. And as that's as an adult and how bad it can be as an adult. So if you are a child and you're having that mindset imparted on you, it kind of ruins your entire world. And as a parent to put that onto a child, I think is an unforgivable thing to do. There's so many things that come with the flat Earth. The flat Earth, that's not just the Earth being flat. Science has all been made up. So all the physics that you are being taught at school, you literally have to ignore, and that's my main argument as to why, is because you have to teach the child that everyone is lying to you, and then the child has to go on in life with that kind of mindset. If you are a flat earther and you've got kids, sure, tell them, but don't tell them that that's the absolute truth. Give them the information that you have, but never tell them that everything's, everyone that is teaching you stuff is wrong. So yeah, it's mostly because you have to teach the child that everything's a lie, and it's so damaging to a kid to do that. And I think that legally meets the criteria of what is classed as emotional or psychological abuse. So that's my argument.
Okay, so you're done?
Yeah.
All right, give me 1 second. Okay, so this second part, what we're going to do is we're going to have a 10-minute discussion, open discussion between you two alone. And this will be covering Dapper Dino's points only. So stay away from using your points unless you're going to use them as defense. Don't try to bring up your points, fight the Flat Earth, as we'll cover those in the next session, okay? All right, so
okay.
This is a 10-minute session. Dapper Dino, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, fight the Flat Earth. We'll start with you since this is your rebuttal to Dapper Dino's evidence and points presented. So we'll start with you, and it's an open conversation. So go ahead, guys. Whenever you start talking, we'll start the timer.
Well, you were saying about getting the law involved is a bad idea because of foster care being bad universally around the world, and I wanted to kind of say that that isn't the first place that it would go. I think there would, if the law were to get involved, then there would be, restrictions and a period of kind of moderation before it then went, okay, you haven't met the criteria to reform, so now we have to look at taking the children off of you. So I think that if the law did get involved, then that kind of threat, hopefully to a parent, would make them stop doing that.
So I agree that is definitely the first place it would go. Short of significant physical abuse, I don't know of too many situations where anywhere the system would simply go straight to taking the children. But the thing is, for me, one of the important things you have to do to see if a law is worth it is, would you be willing to impose the harshest penalty for whatever it is that you're proposing? And for me, and I try not to get too much into my personal politics, but for me, the answer for that for a lot of things ends up being no, even things that are currently illegal. For instance, I'm okay with legalizing virtually every drug for recreational use for adults. I don't think prostitution should be illegal, primarily because I don't think the harshest penalties fit the crime in any of those cases. And the other thing is, you got to remember that for a lot of flat earthers, this isn't simply a silly belief that they have. This is a part of their religious identity. And those are the kinds of things that people are the least likely to stop teaching simply because the government says so. In fact, historically, governments have told people to stop teaching a lot of religious ideas, and it has never worked. So I do think that while the first response might be some kind of monitoring and, some kind of action plan from whatever the child protective services are in, whatever jurisdiction, I think that in nearly every case, the flat earther in question would not follow that. And it would end up in a situation where the state is now considering removing these children from the parents' care. And I just don't think that that's the better outcome. Basically, I'm saying...
You see a point? Yeah. But it's kind of assuming that foster care is the worst option than living with a parent who believes in these things. Because I've noticed that flat earthers are so passionate about what they believe, in the way that they would force it on their children would be damaging to that child. And if the option is to be in an environment where you're having these things forced on you in a religious way, or to be in a foster environment, and I think that the foster environment would be the better option.
Well, it might be.
To hope that it wouldn't go bad. I mean,
it might be, but one of the problems that we have is so we have a long history of people growing up in places where basically pseudoscience is being taught. For instance, I grew up as a young Earth creationist where it wasn't quite as many people had to be lying for this to be true, but it also wasn't all that many more. Like, NASA still had to be lying about at least some things. Pretty much every scientist had to be lying about something or other in order for young Earth creationism to be true. But I don't think that I would have been better off in the foster care, because despite this, I had a very good upbringing, I think. I don't think that teaching in and of itself was abusive. And like I'm saying, there may be behaviors that occur with flat Earth frequently that are themselves abusive, in which case then that's fine. That's a separate thing. I'm just saying that I don't think that teaching flat Earth per se. So for instance, there are abusive ways to teach flat Earth. And the other thing that we have to remember is we don't really have a known harm to raising kids believing in flat Earth. But we do have a known harm for foster care. We do know that it causes less than optimal outcomes when compared to leaving kids in non-abusive homes. So we absolutely do know that, but we don't actually know the harm from being raised flat Earth because it just hasn't really been a thing long enough. And so I'm also, as a rule of thumb, not against causing a known harm in order to prevent an unknown harm. So I think and maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's usually my rule of thumb that we don't know what harm A is, so let's impose harm B because harm A might be bad. Well, maybe, but it could be that harm A is not nearly as bad.
I mean, I would hope that if a child, if the only thing that was different in the home life was that the parents would say, no, the Earth is flat, you're being lied to about that, but everything else was absolutely fine. That there was all the love and affection that you could want for, and that I would hope that the child would be able to see that the parent was wrong about flat Earth. But the issue I have is with the mindset that I've seen in flat earthers is so cultish and insistent that their way is right, that it could take over the responsibilities of being a parent as long as they get the flat Earth truth into that. And I mean, I know that's speculation, but it comes with what I see in the realm of being a flat earther, because more and more I'm seeing a lot of flat earthers. I can't really debate this person because they might have a fucking mental disorder, and I don't really want to touch that. And
that's definitely true.
And
and
that's where I see that does the mental disorder come from being told the Earth is flat and there's all the problems, or was there a mental disorder there that has then allowed that person to believe in flat Earth? But if that is the kind of insistence that they're putting on their child, and the behaviors that they're imparting onto their child to do with flat Earth, then it's going to affect that child's life for the rest of its life.
Oh, it will. But here's one of the things that I would say. Like, let's say that we can say that flat Earth is a cult. I actually tend to kind of agree with Planner Walk's recent video about the topic and say it has cult-like tendencies, but I'm not sure if it really is a cult per se. But let's just say it is. Would we be okay with removing Jehovah's Witnesses kids from Jehovah's Witnesses family for teaching their kids to be Jehovah's Witnesses? Because I don't think there's anyone who isn't a Jehovah's Witness and who knows much about the organization that would say that, yeah, they're not a cult. But I still don't think that teaching your kids to be Jehovah's Witnesses is sufficient to charge someone with child abuse. And I think it's worse than teaching them about the flat earth, because it involves just as much lying and just as much dishonesty from the rest of the world, but it also implies an actual antagonism from every single world government, to the point that Jehovah's Witnesses believe that governments will be killing them in the next few decades at least. Do whatever you need to. So to me, that's the comparison. Is would it be okay for the Jehovah's Witnesses to lose their for being Jehovah's Witnesses?
I see what you mean. And personally, I don't think that any religion should be taught to kids. That's something that I think they should, be taught much later in life, or at least introduced to much later in life. I don't think it's a cultural thing. I think religion is very different from culture, but that's just a personal opinion. But I don't.
Either way, I don't think that's a viable.
When you get to the extremes of things, no. But when you get to the extremes of things like Jehovah's Witnesses and the flat earths, and when there is that much involved in teaching them that everything that they're being taught in the rest of the world is a lie, I don't see how you can't see that is damaging to the child.
Well, I do think it's damaging, but I don't think that just being damaging on its own, without any statement as to how severe it is or any thought about whether the damage that might be caused by intervention would be worse, is enough to say that something should be illegal. Like, if we want to back up and say, is teaching flat earth to kids damaging? The answer is yes. It absolutely is. You absolutely should not do it. If you do it, you're a bad parent. I'm absolutely 100% on board at that point. If you're teaching your kids to be flat earther, you're a bad parent. I have no sympathy for you complaining about me calling you that or anything. You are a bad parent if you're a flat earther teaching your kids to be flat earthers. But I don't think that for that reason the law is something that should be involved, because the law causes known and very real harm.
Okay, so hold on. We'll let Fight the Flat Earth just respond to that last second, and then we're done with that portion.
Okay.
Like I've said, the severity of it, I think, would have to be judged on a case-by-case basis, and it depends how the parents would react to intervention in the first place. But I think, depending on the severity of the kind of indoctrination of the child, that the most severe option of the law being involved and going to foster parent is still better than the living with that kind of severity of a flat earth parent.
Okay, so that was the end of the first round. Now we're going to go on, or I'm sorry, the first part of the second round. So now we're going to go on to the second part. We'll start with you, Dapper. We're going to be addressing the arguments that Fight the Flat Earth made in the first section. So, as soon as you start speaking, I will start the timer, and you guys have 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, the first thing you said, that this teaching your kids flat earth isn't equal to physical child abuse, and I think we can both agree there. I think that, beating your kid is far worse than teaching them any lie. So yeah. But you also said it counted as emotional abuse, and I agree. If it is abuse, that is the kind of abuse that it is. So then we have to look at, does it have a negative mental impact on the child? And I think that in most cases you can say it will. At the very least, they will have a rough time coming to grips with how reality actually works as they get older. At most, they may end up spending their lives doing nothing but flat earth activism, which is not going to be a fun life for them. So I do agree that those are possible problems there. But what I'm saying is that there are a lot of cases where we can see other things, and there are good reasons not to label them as simply child abuse. And like you said, the flat earth is a cult. Like I said, I'm not really sure I would go that far. It certainly has cult-like tendencies, especially the tendency to ostracize former members. You come out as having accepted the globe lie, and your former friends are going to have nothing to do with you. I mean, I think we've seen that pretty often. Once someone says, "Hey, I think actually the globe is true," they're just ostracized, and I think that could be an actual problem. But the other thing is, like I said, are we going to start saying that raising your kid to be a Jehovah's Witness or a Scientologist is grounds to declare it child abuse? I think those are both bad ideas. I think raising your kid to be a young Earth creationist is a bad idea. But we still come up with this problem. So why is it, I guess I could say, that this cult is something that we should call child abuse, whereas others aren't? Or do you think that any cult should be barred from raising children as members of it?
I think any cult that is actively indoctrinating their children into the beliefs and ways of the cult, if that is detrimental to that child's mental or physical well-being, should be stopped from having children.
Well, I think by it being a cult, it is very likely.
Whether they think they love the children or not, in the case when the need or the want to indoctrinate and make sure your child it believes what you believe outweighs the need and the want to be a parent, then that the rights of being a parent should be taken away. And that's why I kind of said that it should be like a case-by-case basis, because like my nan was heavily religious, right? Mm-hmm. But none of her 7 children turned out religious because she never forced it on them. And I think that's the way it should be. If you have these religious beliefs, then talk about them and be open about it, but never ever force it on them, and then they come to whatever decision. But if you're teaching them that you have to believe in this, and that then starts to have an outweighing effect on the actual being a parent, then the rights of a parent should be taken away.
All right, and I guess now I have a question, because I need some clarification. Is there a difference between teaching your kid that something is true and forcing it on them? What is that difference?
I mean, if your kid was at school and then came home and was like, "Oh, I learned about Earth and space today," and then you were to be like, "No, you would just been lied to. This is what you're going to believe. You're going to believe the Earth is flat and it's enclosed with a dome," then that's forcing it, I guess. I don't know if there's necessarily a difference. It's a hard question.
Okay. Because there were times when I came home and was informed that, the Earth, despite what you may have learned in Earth science class, the Earth is in fact only 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Was that being forced on me? I definitely believed it for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, were you allowed to question it?
I mean, I was allowed to ask questions as to why we would disagree. I don't know that I did question it until I was into high school, and then I definitely felt like I needed to keep the peace better. I needed to not make that a topic of discussion, that I was disagreeing with those particular beliefs.
And
so
was there ever arguments and stuff about it?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Was there ever arguments to do with it?
Yes. Yeah, there were. Not very, not terribly heated arguments, but there were definitely discussions as to why you shouldn't believing in evolution and the old Earth.
I mean, it sounds like you still had a decent enough upbringing that you could still make the right choices and come to the right decisions on your own, but not everyone is going to be that lucky. And
oh, I agree.
Like I said, that's why I think it's with any kind of child abuse kind of thing, they're always case by case basis, and
well, and see, I think we have some commonality there.
Turned out okay, but yeah.
And I think we have some commonality there, where there are definitely behaviors that could be involved in teaching the flat Earth, or I suppose forcing it on. I'm still not sure what the difference is, but there are definitely ways that you could go about doing that that I would say are abusive. For instance, if you were to, you know, angrily rebuke your kid for expressing doubt in the flat earth, or hit them, or make them chant flat earth mantras like perspective, perspective, or something, then those are things that would be abusive. But the thing is, I don't think that that's special for the flat earth. I think that's just general for any crazy conspiracy type theory that you might want to teach your kids. And so for me, the question is that because it's the flat earth, or is that because that would be abusive no matter what ideology you were trying to push? And I think it's no matter what ideology. So I don't think there's a reason to say, oh, it's the flat earth in particular.
No, and I agree, and that's why I suppose it comes down to a whole, you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, because, you know, how far is the teaching or the forcing going? Does it end up being physically detrimental to the child? Then yeah, you have to step in straight away. But if you could just classify it as just having psychological abuse, then you would approach it differently. But
like I said, I'm always concerned with.
Do I think flat Earth is a cult? And you know, do I think cults that indoctrinate children should be allowed to have children? And I don't think so. No.
All right, and I can see where you're coming from there. I just worry that historically, when we've said that even fairly extreme religions have to, for that reason of belonging to that religion and trying to get their children to also belong to it, generally when we've said that that is itself grounds for removing kids, it has resulted in some pretty significant human rights abuses. And like I said, I don't think that we're going to end up, you know, with like, you know, a situation like we're in like 30s Germany, or, you know, like, I don't know, certain periods in Chinese history, including right now. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that's likely to happen.
They pretty much banned religion in China.
Right. To some extent, there are certain state-allowed religions, and you can get like licenses from the state basically to have churches or temples or something. They've come pretty close to banning Islam, though. But yeah, you can be Catholic, you can be certain kinds of Protestant, you can be certain kinds of Buddhist in China, but you have to be you have to downplay it a lot. And so for me, I don't want to use a slippery slope, but the other thing is, I'm very worried about human rights abuses coming from governments, including Western governments, because Western governments are not immune to having human rights abuses. And I think that any step towards any kind of thought crime is a bad step to take, because it only invites abuses of human rights. And I do think that, look, plenty of the behaviors that you've been describing I would consider to be abusive. I just don't think that they're unique to the flat earth. And so we could say, are these particular methods of indoctrinating children abusive? Then we can say yes. But is the flat earth itself part of that abuse? I don't think it is. I don't think it's a good idea. I just don't think it's a severe enough bad thing to do that I would be comfortable making a law about flat earth per se. So if you want to make a law about, you know...
I don't think it's necessarily... I don't even think my argument is necessarily just towards flat earth. Okay. I think my argument is towards teaching your kids anti-science in general, and the scientific community is lying to them. And yes, of course, my angle is going to come from flat earth because that's what I deal with, but it covers a lot more than just flat earth, obviously.
Okay.
You know, and I think any way of teaching a child to ignore all the scientific discoveries and advancements that we've had, and that everyone that teaches them is lying, can be damaging, regardless of what it is. Flat Earth, anti-vaxxers, any kind of anti-science movement that teach kids that they have to believe that the anti-science is true, can be damaging to that child and their development.
Okay, now we're done with that. We're done with that time. So Dapper, I'm going to let you have the last word to respond to that topic, and then we're going to take a short break, cover some super chats and members. But go ahead, Dapper, with the last word on this topic before we move on.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have a disagreement that teaching kids flat Earth is going to be harmful. I think it really does come down to, is it really so harmful that the law needs to get involved. And I also think we somewhat agree that it's not necessarily a flat Earth problem per se, so much as it is a sort of pseudoscience conspiracy theory problem. So I honestly think we agree more than we disagree.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we're going to stop it. Hold on, we're going to stop it there. We have one more session. It's going to be a 20 to 30-minute session where you guys just discuss. So let me go ahead and address the super chats and the new member that's come in. So that way, if any of these, if you guys want to discuss these super chats in the open discussion, you can. So we have Cheshire Cat. What I'll do is I'll start from the newest one and work my way up. We have we have the Athens 619 for $5. Read the book called The Child Called It by Dave Peltzer. I'm not familiar with that book, Athens, so unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to talk about it, but if either of you guys do know about it, you can talk about it in the next session. Cheshire Cat for $1.99. Flurf kids will outsmart their parents, I hope. I am confident in that assertion, Cheshire. At least if they listen to their teachers, they're by default. They can listen to a 4th grade geography teacher, and they will have more knowledge than their flat earth parents. Area 85 restorations for $5. Maybe, hold on, let me move my thing so I can see the whole thing. Maybe teaching anything that contradicts scientific consensus should be considered child abuse. Maybe that is where the line should be drawn. Copernicus Thinker for $3. Team, you come up with super interesting topics. Oh, thanks, Copernicus Thinker. Actually, to give credit, I believe one of these guys came up with the topic to discuss. I think, Dapper, was it your idea to have this debate?
Yeah, I actually thought of it after Craig got kicked off Twitter, because I think that might have been why he got kicked off Twitter, so I thought it'd be fun to hash it out.
Yeah, we'll have to do a cancel culture topic one night. Is cancel culture cancer or good? Which I think it's cancer. But
I'm going to go ahead and say yes, it's cancer.
Yeah, it's cancer. Anybody that wants to snuff out an idea because it's an idea is scared of that idea. Sparky, New Jersey, or NJ, I assume that's New Jersey, for $10. It is settled. This debate should be required watching for all flat Earth debaters on how to have a proper, polite debate. Call it a YouTube debating masterclass. Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's just fix that right now. Craig,
You
you're a
have to start swearing
moron.
and stuff if you like.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Fuck
Craig,
you,
you're a fucking
stupid looking
moron.
fucking idiot.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, dinosaurs are so much
and your
smarter.
fucking short arms. You're just angry because you can't masturbate, stupid T-Rex.
That's actually for those of you that weren't in the pre-show. That's about how it all went down right there. That's how we were talking to each other, and then we were like, okay, time to be nice and have a normal conversation. And then we have a new member. Oh shit, new member alert. Everybody get out. Oh, well, I don't want to spoil it for everybody. For the new members out there, you know what to do first, right? We'll go ahead and ask Dapper, being the new guy on the channel. You're very familiar with my membership, how to welcome members to the channel, correct?
I think so, and I think it starts out with the bell or the dinger.
Did you just call it a fucking bell?
Well, it looks like a bell on the thing. It doesn't look like one of those things where you push the dinger down. Maybe it's time to update that emoji.
I am disappointed in you. That is my dinger. What comes next? What comes next, Dapper?
I believe it's the imaginary meat tube.
Oh, and it's not imaginary, it's real. Yes, the Me Too. Yes. And then, what else?
Then we get out our mankinis.
That's right, baby. We jump in the mankini and we turn everybody in the audience on. There you go.
The mankini is not imaginary.
The mankini is real life. We did the mankini on stream, so we
ask his neighbors.
Ask the children that live around me. They all talk about me, I'm sure.
If you become a member on my channel, one of the emojis is actually Team in a mankini for real, trying to whistle.
I thought it was funny yesterday when they had that Logan Paul shit going on Twitter, and there was a video of him, like, I guess some girl was trying to like talk to him, and he looked at her and he goes, I can't talk right now. I'm in a fucking dick sucking fucking controversy. For those of you that don't know, a lot of people accused Logan Paul. I think it was Logan and not Jake, but Logan Paul of sucking some other dude's dick, and Logan Paul took it like a champ. He thought it was fucking hilarious. But yeah, it was funny.
Like, okay, if he did, like,
yeah, if he did,
what do we go with from that?
But yeah, it was just funny. I just thought that that Logan Paul took it like a champ, though. On Twitter, not in the video. I haven't actually watched the video.
So you don't think he took the dick like a champ? You
Well,
think he took the accusation like a champ?
I haven't watched the video, but there's enough people talking about it on Twitter that I know it happened.
Okay.
Area 85 restorations for $20. Doing anything to a child that is detrimental to them is child abuse, including mental abuse. Teaching them demonstrably wrong crap has a very high chance of screwing up their future. Just look at the Westboro Baptist Church. There's an argument to be made there. I will agree.
Oh, there definitely is.
And then Flirfs are idiots for 10 Canadian dollars. Yes, teaching children that the earth is flat should be considered child abuse legally. I agree 100% with FTFE. I have ever since I heard him say it. Oh, I have ever since I heard him say it.
Oh, what was your PayPal again so I can send you the money?
PayPal.teamskeptic.com.
Wait, is there an offer to pay for payment? You give me enough money, I'll change my mind. I don't care.
And then we have okay, and then we have a new sticker, $5. Oh, let me make sure. Yeah, that was the that was the top one. Okay. And then we have a sticker from MA2 Fletcher Eisler for $3. Thank you, sir. And it says fist bump. Yeah. And then we have another new member. Oh my God, Dapper. You know what? Let's see if Fight the Flat Earth actually has comprehension skills. Okay? Fight the Flat Earth. What comes first there, sir?
You got to whip out your dinger.
That's right, baby. Whip it out. Try not to hit anybody in the face with it on accident. What comes next, good sir?
I do not condone it because it does not exist, but it's the meat tube.
Yes, he's finally getting it right. See, so many people are getting it right that I think maybe I'm starting to get it wrong. It is the meat tube second, correct?
No, it's the Mandela effect.
No, it's always been the Mankini.
No, you're both wrong. It's the Mandela effect.
Okay. Well, now I'm genuinely confused. But I'm going to go with meat tube or Dinger meat tube Mankini. And let's see, we also have... oh, that was it. Okay, good deal. Okay, so now we're on to the third portion of the debate. This is going to be an open discussion. You can address things that that weren't brought up in the beginning, or maybe things that were brought up during the refutation. But this is going to be at least 20 minutes. If you guys are still arguing good points, I'll let it go a little longer, but we will cap it off at 30. So the timer will start. We will start with Fight the Flat Earth, since Dapper started last round. Fight the Flat Earth, the moment you start talking, the timer will start.
Okay, so I don't think that necessarily it should be classed as like a thought crime, like you were saying. I think that's very different to being taught that something is a lie.
How so?
Well, isn't a thought crime like more something that is dangerous to think or just damaging to think?
Well, when I say it, what I mean is it's basically a belief which you hold, which at the very least expression of or attempts to convince other people of is criminal. Like, I think it's, obviously there's just a logistics problem with making it illegal to think a thing, because how would you know? So what actually has to be illegal is the expression of the thought or the attempt to teach other people the thought. And to me, any law based simply on the mere fact of a belief in some group of people, whether it be parents or just adults or whatever, is something I find troublesome, because I don't think that's the kind of law that we can trust anyone to make. even if it is, something like, now if we go for like inciting violence, then we can have a different talk, but I don't think flat earthers are inciting violence, so I think it's an issue we could have on something.
Honestly, I've been threatened with death several times because I push the ball Earth lie.
Okay, well, I would say that if you're teaching your kids that people who attempt to educate people about the shape of the Earth and that it is a globe, if they're encouraging their kids to think that those people are appropriate targets for violence, then I would say that is a different question. I think that there is some reason to say that maybe not even just for the kids' sake, but for the sake of other people who have to live in society with these kids, that people teaching kids to be actively violent against others should be grounds for some kind of child abuse case. But if you're not doing that, and all you're doing is saying that, hey, the Earth is flat, and here are my reasons why, and you shouldn't believe that it's round, and then whenever they come home saying, well, here are the reasons that you shouldn't believe your teacher on this, I don't think that is something that in the flat Earth needs to be the focus of why this counts as abuse.
No, I agree that it's not just a flat Earth thing.
I know.
One of the super chats said, should be teaching anything that's against the scientific consensus be what we consider abuse, and that it's a hard line to take. But at some point, like, don't we want the species to advance? So don't we need to stamp out the stupidity at some point?
Well, one of the things is, I don't think that we need to make it a legal matter to stamp out stupidity. For instance, I think, most of the people I know who grew up in a similar situation to me as, say, young Earth creationists, they're not anymore. Young Earth creationism has a really low retention rate among kids. In fact, it's shrinking for that reason, because basically the only way to become a young Earth creationist is to be raised that way. And even then, they do not have even close to I don't even think they're at a 50% retention rate. Now, we don't have enough information on flat Earth because it just hasn't been around long enough, but I imagine they'll have an even lower retention rate. So I don't think that getting the law involved is necessary to make this be something that is going to essentially become a non-force in the world. And really, it's already not a force in the world. Like, flat earthers aren't impacting any laws anywhere, not changing government policies. I mean, they're not impacting the economy anywhere.
No, some are trying.
Oh, yeah, but let's face it, they're going to fail. In fact, I would say, young Earth creationism has caused more damage in that sense, but I still don't think that it's something that, I don't think I should have had to deal with the law and child protective services for that reason in my family. Okay, and maybe that's why I'm
going to play you a quick video, right? I want you to watch this video and just tell me if you think this is child abuse or not.
Okay.
That's fucking child abuse, right?
I mean, I certainly don't like it, and it makes me feel somewhat physically ill. But if the question is, do I think that it should be illegal, then the answer is no, I don't. I don't think that should be illegal. I don't like it, like I said, and the people who would get their kids to do that are certainly not people I would go hang out with or get a beer with or anything. I would want nothing to do with those people. But I also don't think that it should be a matter that involves the law. It's extremely cringy, too.
But obviously that's just, a humorous look at it. But it's right. How far does it go? Are they saying, no, you're not allowed to go and play with your kids and be part of normal social activities because I want you to stand on this corner with me every day and sing Flat Earth songs?
Then that's child abuse. Yeah, that would be child abuse. But the thing is that
how far does it go?
Well, that's the thing. I think there is a point at which you are so involved in pushing this that it becomes abuse. But the abuse in that case would be things like, you're preventing your child from socializing and you're preventing them from having an emotionally healthy upbringing because all that they're doing is this flat Earth thing. But I could imagine even doing that for something that isn't pseudoscience and nonsense. Like, if you were just an absolutely obsessive knitter and you didn't let your kids do anything but that, they couldn't have friends, they couldn't watch TV, they couldn't go outside and play, they just had to knit socks. Okay, well, that would be child abuse too, even though there's nothing wrong with knitting. It's not the knitting that's the problem. And I think that while the flat Earth is a problem, I don't think
I think that I think that we agree that it's not necessarily just the flat Earth that's the problem. Obviously, like I said, that's just the avenue that I see it through because that's what I deal with. But
right,
it's what the flat Earth can represent, and that is the forcing the belief on the child that everyone is lying to them. You know, they're not gonna have a good time at school. They're gonna get bullied. Well, your parents think the Earth's flat. You know, they're gonna get bad grades. They're gonna be held back. They're gonna objectively have a worse life because they're being forced to believe that the Earth is flat.
And I agree that that's the case, but I'm also the degree of harm which that is going to cause, like I said, is still up in the air. And I'm willing to just say, instead of saying flat Earth, we can just say like conspiracy theories or pseudoscience or something like that. That's fine. But in each case where you show me something where it's like, okay, this is probably child abuse, if this is a frequent thing that disrupts the normal life of the child, then I will say yes, but it's not the particular belief that matters. Because like I said, if you wanted to sing a Globe Earth song all day with your kids, that's also cringy and that keeps them from having a normal life, well, even though the globe isn't, the Earth is a globe.
Wait,
I mean,
you don't sing Globe Earth songs with your kids?
I don't.
Oh.
It might just be you. That might be a you thing.
Put the guitar down, Sean. No, we're not allowed. That's not normal, apparently. Sorry, boy.
No, you can do it sometimes. It's fine to have a Globe Earth song once in a while. But like if you're, like you said, if that's a constant thing that's interrupting your kids' otherwise healthy social life and emotional development, then okay, even though it's in service of something that's not wrong, it's in service of something that's true. The question then is, are you preventing your kid from having a normal upbringing where they're emotionally healthy and well socialized? Well, then no matter what the idea is that you're trying to get across that way, that's the child abuse, is you preventing them from having a healthy childhood. And I do think that pseudoscience and conspiracy theory type things are more likely than true beliefs to result in that kind of behavior. I just don't think it's the belief itself that we should be classifying as, like, I don't think we should put an umbrella term like, okay, anything that science can prove wrong, if you teach it to your kids, that's cause for the government to get involved. I don't think that that's a good idea. Because I am
to have a normal life and have their friends and stuff.
I think I just missed the last 15 to 20 seconds.
Hey guys, sorry, we had like a glitch, I guess, and we missed about 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. So,
okay.
Who was talking?
I was.
Well, I heard you talking, but Dapper, were you saying something?
Yeah, I'm sure whatever I said got the gist of it. So he can just go with whatever he heard last.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I was just saying that it really does depend on how far forcing that belief onto the child goes and how much it affects that child's life. If they're allowed to have a normal life and they've got friends and they're not bullied and then yeah, maybe the law shouldn't be involved. But if it's something that is clearly detrimental and if it's clear that this child is having an objectively worse life because his parents are forcing him to believe the Earth is flat, then yes, I do think that some kind of authority should get involved.
Well, worse than what?
It's hard to put a blanket case on it. It's hard to put a blanket, at what point do we say that is now abuse? But if that child is objectively having a worse life because they are being forced to believe in the Earth is flat, then there has to be some corrective measures taken.
Okay, but worse than what? So it's a worse life than if they just weren't taught that?
Yeah, well, yeah, but like I said, it depends how far it goes. So if that child is having a bad life because they're getting bullied because of what they are being told their beliefs are, if they aren't being loved and looked after as well because of this belief getting in the way of things, if they are not allowed to have friends that believe the Earth's the globe, and that's, it's hard to say where you should draw the line. But if it is the belief in the flat Earth that is objectively making that child's life worse than it could be, then surely it's the ethical thing to do to step in.
So my concern is always that it's extremely easy to... This is sort of a concept in economics, which I know is not really a related field, but this is kind of something I'm going to port over for use in this discussion. And there's this idea between the seen and the unseen, right? The seen is the things that you notice going on, but the unseen is what might have happened if you hadn't bothered to act or you had acted in a different way. And so I think it's very easy to discount the unseen potential harms of getting the law involved versus what you're looking at as the harms of being taught this, frankly, ridiculous, and I agree, a damaging belief. Because the thing is that when the law gets involved, there will be harms to the kids that the law will cause. It might not be very extreme in cases where the kids aren't removed and there's just some kind of monitoring and the parents change their behavior. But like I said, I don't think that's going to be very common with a lot of these kinds of beliefs. And so I am skeptical that the law is an appropriate means to use to deal with this problem, because the law itself, essentially, the government is a killing people machine. It's the only thing it's good at. It's okay at some other things, but it's bad at most things. And it has not proved itself, in my opinion, to be terribly good at taking care of kids. And so, to me, I am always skeptical of the idea that that should be the institution that we turn to first in cases where, especially in things where it's like, is this belief significantly enough of a problem? And like I said, there are definitely behaviors associated with it that I do think would constitute child abuse. So I think really, for me, the question is, are you actually suggesting that there be a class of beliefs, such as flat Earth or maybe young Earth creationism or anti-vax? Is this a class of beliefs that's simply teaching your children, but otherwise they have a fairly healthy upbringing like perhaps I did, that should be cause for the law to even look into the family? Like if the coppers get word that you're a flat earther, should they be investigating your family for that reason?
Possibly.
Okay.
I think it would definitely be appropriate to at least make sure that the child's life isn't being affected because of... And let me clear, again, it's not just flat Earth, but pseudoscience belief that could be classed as dangerous.
Well, that's why I included young Earth creationism and anti-vax and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like someone in the chat says, does Scientology fall into that argument? But yeah, I guess so. That's a dangerous pseudoscience. That's definitely a cult, And
oh yeah, I agree. And now we just got sued.
Yeah.
Sorry, David Miscavige. You're great. I promise. Yeah, seriously.
Don't be apologizing to him. Apologize to me. It's my fucking channel.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Sorry, Team Skeptic, but you just became a suppressive person, so you're going to have to deal with that. And so, like I said, yeah, I do agree. And what I'm asking is, I guess, so is there a class of beliefs that you think should be cause in themselves for a government agency to get involved in the family? Like, okay, this family, they are anti-vaxxers. The mom and dad are anti-vaxxers. Let's say they have their kids vaccinated just because we'll just take away that question. But they are telling their kids how bad vaccines are and apologizing for having vaccinated them. Is that grounds to investigate the family for potential child abuse on its own? Because I don't think it is. And maybe I'm wrong.
Any family that isn't vaccinating and stuff should definitely be looked at.
Well, that's why I started with, let's pretend that these kids were vaccinated because their parents became anti-vaxxers maybe after they got their vaccines. So they're sorry about getting their kids vaccinated, but they teach their kids that vaccines are bad, and they say that they shouldn't get their own kids vaccinated. Is that itself grounds for some kind of government investigation?
Possibly, because I think vaccinations should be mandatory, and if then they're going to be pushing that vaccines shouldn't be taken, then
Okay.
that should probably be investigated. But again, it's a case by case thing,
Right.
Um,
So I guess for
and
me, I think I can.
I suppose I'm. Sorry, go on.
Like, I guess what I'm saying, I guess for me, like, I wouldn't be terribly opposed to listing things like this as some kind of like a warning. Like, say you could have school teachers or something. If the kids are expressing these ideas, it could be like, okay, we'll keep an eye on this kid because you might want to look for other signs of abuse. And then if other signs are detected, then that can trigger some kind of investigation. But I would be very hesitant to say that it would be appropriate to write into a law that certain beliefs themselves, if the parents express them or it seems like they are at home based on what the children are saying, that just that belief in itself should be enough to cause an investigation for child abuse, and that if it's found that parents are in fact teaching this, that fact in itself should be grounds for legal action against the parents. So I might be okay with saying they should be warning flags, like, oh, okay, you're a young Earth creationist, or you think that the moon landing never happened, or you think that the Earth is flat. Well,
Have to look at how much is the forcing of the belief affecting that child. Is it making them have a worse life than they could be having? Is it causing them any kind of emotional trauma? And I think there's steps even before the law gets involved, like we were saying. So it's not necessarily that it has to go straight to the law. I don't think the social services is necessarily a law thing. But
okay.
do I think that just telling your child that the Earth is flat and just leaving it at that is child abuse?
Okay.
Probably no. Do I think that using it as a way to make that child's life worse is child abuse? Then absolutely yes. If the flat Earth, if the passion of the belief in the flat Earth is actively affecting that child's life to make it worse than it could be if the flat Earth wasn't involved, then that is abuse. But it's a case by case thing, and it really depends on the support structure around that child and family, I guess.
Okay. I think that's reasonable. I would hesitate to use the phrase teaching your kids flat Earth is child abuse with that, but I think that might just be a difference in argumentation style. So it may be that we actually even disagree less than we thought we did. I do want to point out there was something that I noticed in the chat. I do think that not having your kids vaccinated is in fact child abuse if you're living in an area where vaccines are available. And if you're living in like rural Rwanda, then okay, maybe not.
Okay, can I stop you guys there? That's 20 minutes.
Okay.
I've been taking notes. So now I want to ask a few questions. I know Sean has a few questions to ask. There's a few questions in Super Chat that came in. So what we're going to do is, I guess I'll start. Well, me and Sean will go back and forth with comments. I want to first say that I'm trying not to take a position either way here. I'm trying to not hold a positive belief on either position and try to just make, logical arguments based on what I've heard from you guys. So, here is my first thing I want to say. Let's see. Okay, so one of the things I want to bring up is that the main argument here is the argument not for the population or people, it's for children, okay? So when we talk about children, we have to understand why are children a special case in this situation? Are they a special case because they're not fully developed yet fully developed mentally to be equipped to handle critical thinking and the information being passed on? That's one point. The second point I want to say is that children have a tendency to believe people like their parents and people like the teachers at school and people who are in authority, a position of authority to them. Hell, they'll even believe other adults before they'll believe what they know to be true inside of their own hearts because they just don't know how to critically think when given new information. So the question that's in there is that is it, what's the reasoning behind wanting to hold the belief that that it should be, and also not holding the belief? Like, where do you see a error in that logic, that it's to protect the children don't have a way of protecting themselves against bad information from a source that they believe to be authoritative?
So I think that children are a special case primarily because one, their mental faculties aren't fully developed, and two, because they are so dependent on caretakers that they can't really look out for their own interests. And so that's why I do think that doing certain things to kids that would not be abuse to an adult might be abuse to kids. Like, I'm much more open to saying that, certain activity, like if you call an adult a jerk and say that I hate you and you're worthless, I don't think that's abusing that person. Not nice, but I mean, whatever. People should have a thick skin. Whereas I do think that doing those things to a kid is abuse for those reasons. They're just so dependent on their parents or guardians or whomever, and because they're in such a formative state mentally. I think Craig probably agrees with me.
Yeah, no, I do. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Sean, I'm going to let you go ahead and pose something if you have anything that you want to add to this. Just a point that'll allow them to talk about. Great, Sean. Thanks. That's a great sounding point you have there.
Okay,
no, I was happy to have your input, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. That's the fucking smartest thing Sean's ever said on my channel before, ever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and while Sean gets whatever he needs to get fixed, I'm gonna go ahead and go through the super chats real quick that we to get caught up on those.
Oh, sorry.
We have
For some reason I was muted.
We have NA for $6, or we'll get to you in a second, Sean. $6.66. MeatTube is fake as fuck. JM Truth for Dumb Fuck of the Year. Yes, JM Truth for Dumb Fuck of the Year. No, what the fuck are you talking about? The MeatTube is fucking real. You're crazy, NA.
Nope.
Moderators, will you please
No,
hide
he's right about
NA?
the MeatTube.
Hide NA, please. No, but for real, if moderators will...
He's a mod.
No shit, right? Fight.
Wait,
My god. Yeah, my man Fight just knows how to kill jokes. You're the joke slayer, Fight. Okay, so then we have MA2 Fletcher Eisler says, hold on, let me move the chat.
This is another Navy guy, so.
This is another what?
It's another Navy guy.
Oh, yeah.
Who's in the U.S. Navy, and, got a lot of Navy people on this channel.
All these damn
Were you in the
squids.
Navy too, Dapper?
Yeah, I was. I was
Okay,
a nuclear.
I mean, me and you were in the real Navy. I don't know, Fight the Flat Earth. And Sean, he just joined
Senior
like the
service
women.
motherfuckers.
He joined the women's army for free like benefits all his whole life.
Teen scones.
You realize
Yeah.
I'm not muted anymore, right?
Oh shit, there he is. MA2 Fletcher Eisler. It is abuse if the teacher knows it isn't true and is teaching it anyway. If they believe it and teaching it, not so much, even if it is wrong.
I might agree that intentionally misleading your kids is probably abuse. Like, if you're not a flat earther but you're trying to convince your kids, like, why would you do
I was
that?
actually going to bring that up in my discussion at the end of all this.
Okay, well,
It was one of the points
ahead.
that you brought up, Dapper, that was actually I was going to mention was that if you are one of the flat earthers that clearly doesn't believe the earth is flat, like Nathan Oakley, then teaching your child the earth is flat is some kind of twisted child abuse.
I would probably agree, yeah. I don't know how you would prove it in most cases, but if you could, I think that might be something where we would both say, yeah, no, that's not okay. That's because it shows a willingness to be extremely terrible to your kids on purpose, and that's probably not the kind of person who should have kids around. So yeah, I think we're on the same page there.
Okay, so let me get through the super chats again, because because I don't know if there's another question until the end, the one that just came in. So let me go ahead and clear them all out. We have, oh, I'm sorry, I just jumped to past one. Kwasa, for 5,000. God,
Won.
Is those ruples?
I think is it the W with the lines through?
Yeah.
It's won. It's South Korean won.
Egg.
Won. Okay. So God, Doug, I'll remember that because I need to remember that. Obviously, FTFE is right because I like feathers. So Kuyasa likes feathers, and FTFE is right. So get over it. In the Flat Earth for $2 says psychological abuse, and we'll cover that in a second in the Flat Earth because in Flat Earth. Because I have I'm sure me and Sean both have questions regarding that we intend to pose to them. 199 from our favorite person of all time, our favorite super chatter, Steven Steen. Love your children, teach Flat Earth, hashtag good parenting. Yes, Steven, we understand. We understand you want
Yes,
it.
Steven.
You want people to teach Flat Earth. Okay. And then John Rapp with good day, everyone. Here's a thought. What would an anti-vaxxer think of vaccinating an autistic child? Would split a gasket in some of them, I imagine.
You get super autism that way.
And we'll have the anti-vax debate coming up. I have some plans for that. And then our new our latest super chat comes from Triarius Metzer. What are the repercussions of allowing the state to control information? Have you thought about how it will impact the future and who will wield this power? You know what? That's another really great topic to talk about because let me tell you guys something. There's always with every new advancement that we have, there's always good and bad. You know, as we start to have more access to worldwide information and at the moment information, and don't forget, that's a good thing, right? Well, what about when they're feeding false information or when they're using the information for a bad purpose, like an evil intentions with the information they're getting? You know, like chemistry is great. We can talk about chemistry all day long, and we can go to all these websites that talk about chemistry, but someone with evil intentions can take that information and do harm with it. So the age of information is kind of something that we are, you know, we're very lucky to be alive in, but we also have to be very responsible with that information that we're taking in and putting out.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Roger.
Yeah, and I do think that the question about who will be in charge in the government, and if we start having the government be something that's enforcing the dissemination of information, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm hesitant to say that teaching these kind of pseudoscience ideas should be child abuse. It's because I don't trust that trustworthy people will remain in power. I am very skeptical that they are ever in power. I'm extremely skeptical of not necessarily the motives, but the outcome of the actions of essentially anyone in the government.
So you're saying
like
you
I said,
want to take over the world?
No, I don't want to be in charge of it either because I don't think I would do a good job.
And we have $2 from Copernicus Thinker says child abuse. The woo KDJ brainwashes her kid. Okay, we're gonna get all to that in one moment because we are going to talk. Several of my questions and notes that I have made actually kind of tie into a lot of these super chats. But I do want to turn it over to Sean Hufford right now. Sean, do you have anything intriguing to talk about?
Well, I can talk for days on this, but you know, as far as asking them questions, I don't really need to. I've been on both sides of this debate. I started out saying, you know, it's not child abuse, and I've been dealing with Flat Earth for 5 years now. It started out with me where no, it's not considered child abuse to teach their kids. Then it was for about a year, and then I actually did research on what would happen if the kids were taken out of the home based on their age. And I'm now in the boat that it's not child abuse in a legal standpoint because it would do more harm to the children than leaving with the parents who actually give them a loving home, teaching them stupidity, but they at least give that love to kids the kids need. If they don't have that, for example, if it becomes a law to where you can't teach your kids Flat Earth,
can I ask you guys something? Because both of y'all have made that blanket comment, and I would, you know, if you don't feel like getting this personal, that's fine. But have either one of you ever been through the system of a state-run foster care?
No, I have not. My statements are primarily based on looking at statistics.
Mine's based on studies.
Okay, well, I mean, I just because I've heard that comment made by both of you guys, and to me, I would assume that if all the statistics pointed towards foster care being a harm to the child in general, then they would eliminate that from the from possibility for children. I mean,
Well,
I do
the idea
believe
is-
the government
there-
is
there-
there to help the children. So if they think
There
that
are-
it's harmful,
There actually
There
is
are-
a study. Hold on, Dapper. There actually is a study that says that kids that are removed from their home between the ages of 5 and 10 actually have a very, very destructive mindset when it comes to growing up. They are very, very. They're more willing to cause harm to others. They're more willing to not care about themselves because they don't have that loving environment that kids need growing up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but I'm sure there's
it does.
plenty of foster kids out there that grew up in an environment that loved them. That's
Well, yeah,
that's my only argument there.
that's-
That's my only argument. I just feel like that blanket comment
But
is
here's the
kind
problem.
of it's kind of more of taking special cases into more consideration
But
than
here's
the
the
average
big problem,
case.
Skeptic. Here's the big problem
Yeah.
with that, Skeptic. These kids are being raised to not trust anybody but their parents. And then the government sweeps in and takes them out of that home, enforcing that belief that we are not to trust anybody but what we just got taken away from. So that actually compounds the problem. It makes the life of that child worse because that belief that the government is out to get them and all authority besides their parents is wrong has just been reestablished because of this law.
Okay, now I didn't want to stop that whatever the question you were going to ask though. I just wanted to double check on that. Like, are you guys just saying that because you believe that to be true, or do you actually have facts to back up those assertions? So
Well, I mean,
if you guys
if-
have
if-
facts, if you guys have facts, then we can discuss that another time. But I just wanted to know.
No,
Yeah, it's
there have been
primar-
studies about people being taken out of their homes underneath the age of 15, and 5 to 10 is the worst age you can ever take a child out of the home. And if they're being reinforced with this over and over again, that everybody's out to get them and everybody's lying to them except for the parents, that just makes it even worse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
we
I-
have a QPT lawyer in the chat says, I've represented parents who have lost their children to the state, and I've seen the system. There's good and bad points in the system. It's sadly more of a lottery than it should be, and that's unfortunate,
And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that everyone who goes into the foster care system is worse off for it. What I'm saying is that we know the statistics behind foster care, and they're not great. In fact, they're pretty bad. And so in order to say that that's a good thing to take a kid and put them in that situation, they have to be in a situation that is verifiably worse. And there are situations like that. Like, if this kid is having shoulders dislocated and ribs broken and stuff by one of their parents, that's
Take 'em out.
likely. Yeah, take them out. That's less likely in the foster care system. Well, foster care system actually does have a pretty high rate of physical abuse, but it's not as high as the 100% chance that you're seeing right there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely situations where, foster care is better.
This is why I kind of said that it has to be case by case. There has to be assessments onto how damaging the life is that child is having because of that belief.
If I can give us a case-by-case basis just for you, Craig, Nathan Oakley, absolutely his kid should be ripped from his home. He gets violent when he talks about flat Earth. He takes it out on his daughter, and he's supposed to have another kid on the way if it hasn't been born yet, heaven forbid. But the example you showed with the people singing "The Earth is flat,"
Someone had sex with that?
just hold on, Craig. But that little family get together on the corner singing the Baby Shark song that is a flat Earth parody. Those kids looked happy. So I would say that just from the mental development of the kids, not their intelligence level, but for the mental development of the kids, those kids should stay with those parents. They should not be ripped from their home.
Let me interject again, Sean, because those kids look happy again is something that has been proven. And I can't think of the syndrome right now where the people if they believe just because they put on the happy face for the public. A lot of times they do that in fear of what would happen if they don't put the happy face on for the public. And not to say that that's the situation, because I don't want to make any assumptions on what was going on there. That is part of the questions I was going to ask. And it went along the lines of more of, me personally, I grew up as a Southern Baptist, right? So I went to church on Sundays as a child. I went there. I was forced to go there by my parents. I mean, they didn't like physically force me to go there, but they told me I was going there, and I went there because they told me I was going there. So that took away from my social development. I felt like what I wanted to do as a kid, okay? But I didn't feel like at any time, nor do I feel now, that they were abusing me. They were abusing me to send me to church. I didn't think that was parental abuse or anything like that. So but that was about an idea, the idea of religion. Here we are talking about demonstrable facts. The earth is not flat. We all know that, right? So we're not talking about teaching an idea that cannot be proven one way, right or wrong. I'm sorry?
Apart from that dumbass in the chat, of course.
I just saying, like, there's a difference between the religious aspect. Like, if my parents would have sent me to learn about the flat earth every Sunday and told me I wasn't allowed to go do other things, I needed to go do the flat earth, as an adult, I would look back on that and feel differently than I feel about my mom sending me to church, to Sunday school every Sunday from the ages of 4 to 10 or 12 or whenever I stopped going. It's a big difference. It's one is demonstrable, the other there's no way to demonstrably prove yes or no.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so let me do the two super chats. NANA $6, and I'm not saying I agree with you either, Craig. So don't let me make your point for you. I'm just saying, like, I see things, I see logical inconsistencies with some of these arguments, and I know it's kind of like an informal talk, so I don't plan on saying that's a fallacy, that's a fallacy, that's a fallacy. But when I see things that I feel should be brought up, I do want to bring those up. We have NANA for. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
NANA for $6.66. Canadian bacon is ham. You are absolutely sick out of your mind, NANA. I think it's the second time you went crazy on me today. Canadian bacon. I would never go order a pizza and ask for ham on it. I've put ham on my pizza at home, and it doesn't taste the same as Canadian bacon. Canadian bacon is bacon, but it's just the way the Canadians make it. And it's horrible because it looks, smells, tastes, chemically measures out to be exactly the same thing as ham, but it's not fucking ham. It's fucking bacon from Canada. Jesus Christ. And then unidentified Leviathan, I think I said that right, for $2 Canadian. He can actually tell us about it. There is no difference. There is no evidence to support the flat earth. That was more my point, unidentified Leviathan, is that even though there's no evidence to support, God or no God, there's no evidence to support no God, just as much as there's no evidence to support God, there is evidence that the earth is a globe. Demonstrable evidence, provable evidence. Every day of your life you can go outside and see that the earth is a globe, okay? So I do feel like there's a difference in pushing the idea of religion on your children versus pushing the idea of flat earth on your children.
No, I totally agree with that, but since this debate is on whether or not it should be illegal to teach flat earth to your kids, I'm a year and a half ago I would have been right up Craig's side 100%. Then I actually looked up into the consequences of removing children from the home, and I think it would do more harm than good. I really do.
Okay. So let me get to, or did you have any other point with that, or is it cool if I go on to the next one that next note I made? Because I covered the religion is not demonstrable. Okay, so let's go back to that video of the children singing with their parents. Do you believe, and this is a question for, I guess, all three of you, do any of you actually believe that those children are there because they want to be there? Like want as a child, not want because they've been, they want to be there because they don't want to be, to deal with a more harsher family life at home. Like, do you think that they are there voluntarily because they want to teach others about the flat earth?
I'm waiting for the video to come back up because I actually want to go full screen on that so I can actually see some expressions in body language.
Yeah, will you get that video ready, Fight, and I'll put you full screen.
2 seconds.
All right. Dapper, do you want to answer that question while he's getting the video ready? Oh, and we lost Dapper.
Oh no, it's all my fault because I was muted.
Where was it?
Well, we'll give him a chance to rejoin. Dapper, if you're out there and you're listening in, you can rejoin on the same link.
Okay, right, I'm ready.
Because I personally don't believe that those kids are there on their own free will. Here we go.
Okay, go ahead and pause it. Okay, I'm actually watching their reactions. The girl in the center, she only looks to her mom whenever a new verse starts, but then she actually looks to the crowd. So she's not there to make her mom happy. She's just looking at her mom every now and then for the cues on the new line. She has no rhythm. The boy in the back, he just looks confused. Sorry, I'm not being mean. He's not sure. I don't know if he wants to be there or not.
Which means a lack of rehearsal. This is not something that they actively do. This is something that they're being put on the spot. Hey, it's Saturday morning, guys. What do y'all want to do? Y'all want to go fucking hang out with your friends? Guess what? Not going to happen today. Today we're singing Flat Earth fucking Looney Tunes on the sidewalk in public.
Well, here's what I'm looking at with the girl with the violin. She's looking more at the camera and then to her violin, and she's not looking at the family at all. So she's looking for approval of the camera, not for her family. So she's actually willing to be there. The mom has no interest in what her kids are doing. She never watches her kids throughout all this. She's watching the crowd, so she's not checking to make sure that they're going out of line or doing something they're not supposed to be doing. The dad just looks lost. Just saying.
He's taking notes. He's taking notes as who the fuck is off key.
Now, the only one I can't... The only one I'm not getting a really good read on is the boy in the back. I can't tell if he wants to be there or if he's being forced to be there. But everybody else there,
Now, me personally, I'm not an expert in body language or reading people or whatnot. But I just don't... and they're not... To me, those aren't children. Those are, they're kids, yeah. But they're not... They're probably old enough to be able to critically think for themselves.
I'd say the youngest one is... I would say the youngest one is probably 13.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they're able to critically think for themselves. So who knows, But if the parents are making them go there instead of enjoying a normal life, like if they want to be doing something else, I'm not okay with that. But it is their home. It is their home. Is it something that they should go to jail for? No, I don't think that. Not in this case, at least.
Yeah, like I said, they've been taught a lot of stupid, but I don't think they've been done any permanent damage through abuse. I mean, okay. I'm guessing these kids are homeschooled, most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest amount of abuse that a kid that's being taught Flat Earth is going to be in the public school system. And that's mainly from other kids picking on them for thinking the Earth is flat. If they're homeschooled, can you really say there's abuse there at that point?
Well, if they're being homeschooled to teach them that the Earth is flat, and then
yeah, they're being raised to be idiots.
I would say that I don't know. That really is hard. Would there be legal repercussions for a teacher doing the same thing in class?
Yeah, because they have to follow a curriculum. Well, I don't know if they really.
Yeah, but again,
you just lose your job, right?
Hey, can anyone hear me?
In dealing with
Yeah,
we can.
Can hear
yes.
you now.
Okay.
But again, Craig, the most damage is going to be done by kids being taught Flat Earth because they're eventually going to grow up and then start looking at it objectively and start to decide on their own whether they were taught wrong or not by their parents. That's eventually going to happen, especially when they hit the rebellious years. But as far as young kids, the only real abuse that's ever going to come from parents teaching them Flat Earth is when they go to a public school and they start spouting off what they've been taught at home. And then all the other kids take them out on recess and beat the hell out of them. That's the worst that's going to happen.
Which isn't great.
If they're being, which isn't great.
Okay, so
it absolutely sucks.
But Dapper. Okay, now watching that video, do you think those children are there because they want to be there?
I think one of them at least wants to be there. I think another one is undecided, and I don't think that the third one wants to be there. I think the boy in the background is just like, I don't really, what?
Yeah,
I think
I couldn't get a
there's
read
the
on him.
enthusiastic girl, and I would say overall, yeah, 2/3 of them probably wouldn't be there if it were totally up to them. But I also don't think that going and doing some stupid family cringy thing, even if it's for the flat Earth, is itself, you know. I think we all went to cringy family things that we didn't want to go to.
Oh,
I don't
of
think
course.
they.
Oh,
Some of them.
so many Christmases.
Right, exactly.
Christmases.
Like to this day, Thanksgiving is one of my least favorite holidays because it was never very much fun. It was always people just talking obnoxiously about things I didn't care about, and then asking me things like, "Oh, is that all that you're going to eat?" And the answer was always like, "Yeah, because I'm not going to get 3 plates of 18 pounds of food like you did. Sorry." So yeah,
see,
I mean, there's always
Thanksgiving.
cringy
I love Thanksgiving because I just fill my plate up with Canadian bacon. You see how that sounds so fucking dumb, right? Like nobody would ever say ham is Canadian bacon. N-A-N-A.
So there is one thing that I disconnected and I had to get to, and it's I owe Unidentified Leviathan, who did a super chat earlier. I owe him an apology. So I had promised him that I would stream to my off-topic channel, and I forgot that I hadn't verified it, and it would take a day for the verification to go through and allow me to actually stream to it. So sorry about that, man. I apologize. So.
And
My
Dapper,
bad.
just so you know, you can have this video for yourself to use in any way you want. Okay.
The baby shark flat Earth thing.
Oh,
I will keep that in mind.
The baby shark flat Earth thing. When did that happen?
Oh, you meant this? You actually meant the whole debate?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Like if you just wanted to scoop it up and upload it on your channel, you're more than welcome to.
All right. It is currently in a playlist I have for my appearances on other channels, and in a few days I'll probably upload it as something for me.
God's Auditor
I know.
says, I love having a Canadian bacon steak with my pancakes. Yeah, me too, God's Auditor. You get me. You get me.
You're making a lot of enemies right now, team.
What? What?
See, I
All
can't
right.
talk too much because I'm half Canadian.
you have
The
some.
nice side. The nice side. Okay. So let's see if I have anything. Okay, so here's another one, and this is a good question. I want this question to be derived or to be delivered to both of you guys. Okay, so if we have a parent or a group of parents, let's say, who are not providing tangible things like food and shelter, we charge them. They can be held accountable, legally held accountable for that. Why would we not hold parents legally accountable for providing the same mental tools, to prepare them for the future, I guess. So why is it okay to say, we don't care what you put in your child's head as long as you're putting food and clothing on their on their body and a roof over their head? Where do we draw the line as something that we hold the parents accountable for versus something that we don't really, we give them the option of being as incorrect as they want to be?
Well, it's hard to decide where the line is as to then what becomes damaging. But don't we want the advancement of society? So don't we want to put a stop to false information being forced onto people?
Does that mean you want to make politics illegal?
God, I think we should make most politicians illegal.
I'm just.
You're not gonna get too much
You got
argument.
to remember. You got to remember. I'm a very big fan of reductio ad absurdum, and that is exactly the worst case scenario where this can go. Is okay if it has to do with honesty, then all politicians must be put in jail as soon as they declare they're running for politics. That's basically the same. That's basically the reduction of the most absurd result of what you're trying to say is going to happen.
Yeah, but with let's say teaching flat Earth to your children, you're taking away the mental tools for critical analysis of the world. I don't think politics quite equates to it in that way.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, Craig. What you're really relating this to is think what I think, or you're going to jail. That's what this is breaking down to, and that's where this path leads. Like I said,
I agree with Sean
totally
on that.
disagree.
I agree with Sean
I'm not
on
going to
that.
deny it's difficult.
I think I want to say
Yeah,
something.
but,
I think
but
there's
once we have that precedent set, we're going down that path of think this way or go to jail.
And I do think that from our perspective of us three living here in America and you living over in the UK, we have different viewpoints on what we're talking about. In the UK, it's already well known that you can be held accountable for the things you say. So there's a little bit different in your freedoms there than they are here. So here we see it more as an infringement on, on our personal freedoms, because then we can say, well, if they start with flat Earth, where do they stop at? There's a, and I guess this is why the anti-vax topic is such a hot topic in America, because it's along the same ways. When we start, if a parent believes that they don't want to vaccinate their children, and the government steps in because it provides a harm to the population, then, that's really them stepping in on something that the parents believe. It's not it's a little different than flat Earth, because teaching your son flat Earth doesn't affect the rest of the population. It just affects your child. So it's a little bit different in that aspect. But again, where Sean's coming from and where Dapper's coming from is that if we start here, if we start with the flat Earth and we say teaching your son flat Earth is now a crime, what's next?
It's a massive slippery slope you want to start up.
And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the slippery slope argument, but to some extent,
it is difficult. It is difficult, but this is why I keep saying it has to be on a case by case basis. There has to be some method of determining how detrimental it is being to that child's life.
And I can agree with that, because I can agree with that. Excuse me, I can agree with that, because we judge a child coming into the emergency room with a broken arm on case-by-case basis on whether we declare that as being child abuse or not. I mean, we look at mitigating circumstances. We look at what was the environment, for instance, that the child was in. Was the child in an environment where it was just him and his parental figure, or was he playing soccer or football on a soccer field, football field, whatever you guys? I'm trying to pander to the UKers right now, but
actually, let me address Blob Darkness from chat, or Dark Ass. He says conspiracy nuts can really cause damage. It needs to be addressed somehow. Here's the problem with what this debate's over. What Craig is trying to imply here is that the parents need to be punished by making it a crime for teaching their kids that flat Earth is, a thing. He wanted to consider that child abuse. That's to punish the parents. Unfortunately, with that whole plan, it does more punishment to the children than the parents. And the children have done nothing wrong. They just have, their only crime is they have idiots for parents.
So maybe we should look at improving the foster systems and the tools to help the child.
Oh, did we just lose Craig?
I think we did. Maybe he had the same thing I had. Now he's been replaced by JM Truth.
1 2 1 2.
Hold on.
Oh, you're back.
You know what it is, man. I'm sorry, Craig. That was my fault.
Did you mute him?
Not intentionally. Come on, guys.
Oh my God.
Somebody,
yes.
listen. Somebody made a really, really valid point, and they said this whole debate has been one long ad for a Riley for Dumbfuck of the Year, and I was like, yeah, I need to fix that. So when I fixed it, I didn't realize I didn't have his audio set to always be active. So
where did I get to before I cut off?
Just start at the beginning, because
yeah, I don't remember any of it, so probably the whole thing. Actually, he probably said a lot. I just wasn't paying attention. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, Team, I think this is the most polite debate you've ever had in your channel.
I am all about a conversation. Like, I'm trying so hard not to put my personal opinion in on this just yet. I'm going to summarize at the end because, like I said, and I want everybody to know this still goes. There will be a poll on this channel. I'm going to probably put it up there. Let me try to figure out how to insert a four thing poll, a 4 bulletin poll, and I want to see y'all's opinion. Did you agree with Dapper originally, and has he strengthened your argument? Did you agree with him and Fight the Flat Earth has converted you, or the other way? did you already side with Fight the Flat Earth on this, and he just strengthened your argument for believing that it should be classified as illegal, or have you changed your mind and whatnot? So, all right, and I'll get to work on that poll. But Fight the Flat Earth, I believe we all cut you off very efficiently. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I think what I was saying was that shouldn't we then actually focus our efforts on making the tools around the foster system and preventing the foster system better? Then, if part of the worry is that, well, if we punish the parents, that's going to punish the kids automatically as well, shouldn't we work on making that side of it better than just saying no, we shouldn't punish them because that's going to happen?
Here's the counter that I actually brought up earlier that you've already forgotten about. There have been studies done about children being taken out of the home. Ages 5 to 10 is the worst, where they feel they have to have that attachment to their parents so strongly. And if their parents have been teaching them all this time not to trust the government, not to trust authorities besides the parents, and then the government comes in, rips the children out of the home during that 5 to 10 age crucial range, it's going to reinforce their conspiracy beliefs so much more than if the kids had been left in the home and learning about how the conspiracy is a bunch of crap on their own.
Well, again, that's why I say that maybe we should look at increasing the tools around preventing going to foster.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know how it works over there in the UK, but in most of the states here, when a kid gets removed from the home, they're put under the state's care until another relative can prove that they are worthy to have the kids in their home. So they might be in the system for 6 months to a year before they get placed back with another family member. Depends on the situation. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. But it's not as, okay, we're going to take the kids and just give them over to this uncle over here. That's not how it works here in most states.
I think this could turn into a debate about how good is the foster system and social services and stuff, because I think we can all agree that it should be better than it is. But
that goes without saying. But
assuming a perfect system where you can guarantee the child's going to be happy and better off, then that would be the preferable alternative than to being with someone who's going to damage your mental health.
Well, and if we get to a situation where the foster care system is so great that this becomes a non-issue, then I think it's time to readdress some of these questions. But I don't think that's happening in my lifetime. And I'm already 100 million years old.
I mean,
it still ignores the fundamental problem where you're ripping these kids out of the home, the only authority they are taught to believe for their formative years. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah,
you're ripping them out of the only people that they think they're supposed to believe.
That's why I'm saying that maybe there should be tools that are able to help before it gets to that stage. Maybe there should be help in that area, because it doesn't go straight to, right, we're taking the kids away. There's always steps before that. So maybe the steps before that should be made better.
Again, has nothing to do with the situation they're being moved into. It's the fact that you are removing them from the only place where they're supposed to trust people. They've been taught and hammered in, only trust mommy, daddy, only trust mommy, daddy. Then somebody comes in and takes away mommy, daddy.
But okay, so I can argue against that point.
You should have the tools.
Go ahead, Fight. Go ahead.
Wait, I was agreeing with. I'm saying, Sean, that we should have steps before that happens. Before the parents and the children get separated, there should be preventative measures in place to stop that happening and to correct the issue.
Yeah, but you've been trying to correct flat earthers for years now, or I don't know, a year or so. But have many of them been corrected?
A few.
What's your rate? What's your percentage, you think?
What's your efficiency there?
1 in 100.
FTFE.
Yeah. Right. So
yeah,
I think
you should probably go ahead and just cancel your channel. Fight. You're completely.
So I don't think we can expect a whole lot better results from the government trying to fix flat earthers.
Now, okay,
especially since flat earthers tend to not trust the government in the first place.
And the thing is that I keep hearing this pulling people out of situations always puts them in a worse situation, and I know you're not really saying it like for every situation, but I want to say that they do have times where they go in and they take a child out of a situation that the child may feel like is better. Maybe they were getting a lot of love from Uncle Joe, a little bit too much love. Well, that's a bad situation for the child, yes, and especially if the parents let it go on, or if it's done by a parent or a guardian or whatever the case may be. That's a bad situation. Even though in everybody's head they're like, well, I'm not physically harming this child. I'm not doing any, even if it's just inappropriate stuff, where just enough to where the child can be pulled out of the home. Well, the child being pulled out of the home, even if it feels like a worse situation at the moment, is going to be a better situation in the long run. So there is an argument, in my opinion, to say, well, if they are pushing demonstrably proven facts as being false, right? And it might be a worse situation for the next 4 or 5 years as a child. It may be a worse situation. But for the next 60 years as an adult, they are going to benefit from that move from their parents' home to foster care. Now, I'm not agreeing. Go ahead.
I don't think anyone is arguing that it's never appropriate to remove a kid from his family and put the child in foster care. I don't think that's anyone's argument. I mean, there are better than
it has to be a case
current situation.
Thing.
Yeah, it does. It does. It has because you don't know what if it was, if you're going to enforce laws against teaching demonstrably proven facts that could hinder your child's ability to succeed as an adult. If you're going to make laws for that, it has to be a case by case. It can't be a blanket thing. You can't just say every time a parent talks flat earth in front of their kid, it's child abuse. Where you could say the same thing where you're showing porn. If you show porn in front of your kid, then yes, it's child abuse all the way across the line. You know what I'm saying?
I'll just say this, Skeptic. Do you need to know orbital mechanics to flip a burger?
Depends on how fast you put those burgers.
Just saying.
Can I just point out, I don't want flat earthers making my food. They should not go work at McDonald's.
And it's weird because I feel like I'm arguing for a point I don't believe in. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be like very nonpartisan about this.
I'm not going to deny that the situation is very nuanced, and there's a lot more to it than just the blanket statement of teaching your kids flat Earth is child abuse. There's a lot more to it. It depends how far that goes in affecting that child's life, and at what point as a society we're happy to step in and say, right, no, that is wrong and you need to stop it.
Correct.
It is.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're saying that it shouldn't be a flat out, if you teach your kids flat Earth, it's child abuse. Have you changed your position on that?
No, because I've said that from the beginning, that it's a case by case thing. It depends how far it goes. And how much it affects that child's life.
So it's just like, I can't think, like a true cult where a government has to step in to, let's say a child is, on their deathbed and they need a medical treatment that will save the child's life. The parents choose, because of religious reasons, to not save the child's life. Does anybody on the panel think that the government should not step in that situation and forcefully administer a life-saving treatment to a child whose parents are denying it based on religious beliefs?
No, I think you should step in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, at that point, the government, or anyone really, has a legitimate cause to step in and save the child.
So there is a line. So now the real question is does teaching your child flat Earth, at what point does teaching your child flat Earth push you beyond that line? And I guess that's a question for you, Fight the Flat Earth, because you're the one that's holding that position that it does, and you're also saying it's case by case. So
I want to clarify.
Yeah.
I want to clarify something.
Go ahead, Sean.
I want to clarify something because And the Flat Earth just said something very interesting for $5 super chat. I love the voice, but indoctrinating children into cult belief should be punishable on some level because it is a form of psychological abuse. I do agree that it is child abusive, but it should not be a criminal punishment that will remove the kids from the home at a crucial point in their development years.
Okay, so if it's okay, so
It is very, very wrong to do,
You
but I don't
just
think it should
said
be a
to
crime.
Craig, you said the same thing to Craig that you just made the mistake of yourself. What kind of child abuse is okay? What kind of abuse is okay? Because what
No.
you just said, is that it is abusive, but if you take out of the child out of the home, it basically does more harm than being abusive. Is that
I
correct?
mean, not always.
Not always. I'm trying to steelman Sean here. Sean, are you
Steel man
saying?
me? Go ahead.
Yeah, it means I'm just trying to solidify your point, make sure I got it right. It's the opposite of straw man. Okay,
Basically, what I'm saying is, I think it's reprehensible to do this to a child. I do, but it is not criminal child abuse. It by no means. There's people that teach religions to children. Are religions wrong? I absolutely believe so in pretty much every single case. Do I consider it abusing the child emotionally or psychologically? No, I don't, because stupid can be fixed. Children grow up. They eventually learn what they need to learn to figure out if they're being stupid or not. Removing a child at a crucial development point in their years, which has been studied between the ages of 5 and 10, actually does long-lasting harm to the child because they no longer have trust in anyone because they did not have that growing up from their parents. To call it child abuse actually has criminal annotations to it, which does remove children from their parents. And if it's between the ages of 5 and 10, when this would be discovered as they go into school, and the teacher is saying, this kid's getting picked on because he thinks they're this flat. Let's find out why. Oh, the parents are doing it? Okay, criminal child abuse. Remove the kids from the home. That would be the end of the thing. And from then on, that child will never trust authority again. If they were left with the parents, yes, they would grow up in their formative years thinking the earth is flat. Then they go out into the real world where their parents don't have that helicopter parenting, and they start to learn on their own. Their stupidity can, in most cases, be fixed.
Okay, but you are making the assumption that it will always be that it's the worst for the child. It's not going to be always the case. That
yeah. Okay. So
let me belief in the flat Earth. Sorry.
Go ahead. Fight. Go ahead. I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna pose a hypothetical question after you get done, though. Go ahead.
If the belief in the flat Earth from the parents' side is causing problems at home, like say they spend their last bit of money on going to the flat Earth conference instead of buying food and paying rent, then
that's criminal neglect.
Yeah, but it comes from the whole flat Earth thing.
But again, not child abuse. That is actually neglect, not child abuse.
Right. It's the actual neglect that's the problem. It's not that it's the flat Earth. It's that you're starving a kid. I don't care why you're starving a kid. You don't get to starve kids.
Yeah.
And I think
I agree.
That's kind of the difference, is that there's a lot of things that the flat Earth could cause that are abusive, but it's not particular to the flat Earth. The flat Earth isn't some especially abusive belief system, as far as I can tell.
No.
It's a part of a classic belief system that can cause... But even pseudoscience, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no one belief that we can say, oh, this is the belief that causes child abuse, except maybe a belief that child abuse is good, which I don't know of any actual belief systems like that. Well, okay, maybe I can think of some, but the thing is, when you pick out the belief as a part of an important part of why you think this is abuse, one, I think it tends to downplay the actual abusive behavior, and two, it creates this question of, well, who gets to decide which beliefs constitute abuse? And I don't think that a belief in itself really constitutes abuse, with very few exceptions, like things like beliefs that you ought to go out and physically harm people or steal from them or things. Like, with the exception of that, I think that we shouldn't say it's a belief that is child abuse. We can say, I would be perfectly fine saying flat Earth perhaps is likely to lead to child abuse if that could be shown with either really good arguments or some statistics.
I'd agree with that.
I think that's where Greg's case-by-case basis comes into play. But just the simple act of teaching your kids flat Earth, while absolutely reprehensible in my eyes, it technically isn't child abuse. but it may lead to it eventually through other aspects. So again, that's where I agree with Greg's case per case. But I don't think it should just be a blanket crime, child abuse, to teach your kids flat Earth, as much as I disagree with it.
Do you think, here's the question. Do you think it's abusive if a parent is a drug addict? Okay, we'll say a heroin drug addict, okay? But their child gets all the needs they need. But the parent constantly gets arrested for possession of heroin, constantly, involved in antisocial behaviors. Would the government feel? Go ahead.
It depends on how much it's affecting that child. Imagine the parent was able to get a constant, clean source of heroin that didn't lead them into an avenue where they were in trouble with the law. Yet they needed that fix. They were always getting it, but the child is also meeting all of their needs. Has all of their needs met, and there's no trouble arising from it. Then, no, I don't think that is abuse. But if the constant need to get the heroin overrides the well-being of the child, so you don't care about getting that child up in the morning and going to school because you were busy out getting your fix and you got arrested, then that, I think, well, is that neglect or is that abuse then?
But see, the same argument could be made about being a flat Earth teacher or being a flat Earth parent and talking to your children about the flat Earth. If they're providing everything for the child and they're making sure that the child has everything that the child needs to have a healthy life, okay, a healthy life.
But
I'm not saying to be mentally astute as the next child next to them, but when set next to the child, they have. If you didn't know the kid was a flat earther, or you didn't speak to the kid, could you say that kid was a flat Earth, a child of flat Earth parents, and the other kid was obviously a child of a non-flat earthers because of the needs that have been given to them, or being provided for them or not being provided for them, I guess is better.
Well, again, like I said, it falls down to case by case. Then, doesn't it? You have to assess it on as it's happening, and is that child emotionally happy as well as being fed and everything? Are they having a good life, or are they paranoid about everyone? Do they think everyone's lying to you?
Here's the problem with calling it abuse, then, because abuse means that it's not really reviewable case by case. When we're talking about something that, when you're defining what the abuse is, and the abuse here is being defined as teaching your child that science is wrong and that the flat Earth is right. Okay, that is what we're saying. Now, I go back to the case to say, if there was sexual abuse that was going on, even just inappropriate sexual abuse, right? We're not going to say like penetration or anything like that, but let's just say extremely inappropriate sexual misconduct going on around a child. Would you ever look back and go, well, the child is happy. The child is definitely, not in a bad state of mind. So let's not remove the child from that situation. So when you make an argument, you can't really say, when you say that it is abusive to teach children the flat Earth, then that means it's abusive to teach children the flat Earth. That doesn't mean that it's abusive under certain situations, because then you're really just talking about those situations and not about the flat Earth in being taught the flat Earth in general.
And I think that was sort of my point too.
Well, okay, so before we end this, Sean, do you have anything else you'd like to offer?
Nope, I think I've said what I need to say.
Okay, great. Dapper Dino, you were the guest here tonight, man. You did amazing. I'm glad you came on tonight. Need to have you on more. That's
definitely the conversation very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time no one's been really yelling at each other that I've seen on this channel.
We get a lot better conversation happens when you all just talk,
I know.
Discuss ideas.
I wish the flat earthers would realize that.
And the thing is I'm sitting here, I was literally contemplating whether I should even bring those examples up because I was like, those are kind of sensitive subjects, sensitive topics. But I was like, man, I just feel like they're good examples of a point I'm trying to make. But what we are here is just having a conversation. We're trying to discuss a topic that could potentially be considered or not considered. I personally think it's a bad idea. But you know what? Before I get to my opinion, let's fight the flat Earth. Thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Always. I've appreciated the conversation, and I think I need to refine my statement because it's not quite as blanket as teaching your kids flat Earth is child abuse. There's a lot more to it. I don't think that's the reason I got kicked off of Twitter. They sent me an email with the reason I was kicked off of Twitter, and that was for calling them morons, apparently.
I was only speculating. I wasn't sure.
I mean,
I believe parents who teach their kids flat Earth, they're fucking idiots. Ding. Yes, I fucking said it live. Where's my goddamn bell? They're fucking morons. They are selfish, narcissistic people. Because I don't give a fuck whether the Earth is round or fucking flat. To teach a child flat Earth, to teach them that science, to press the idea that they should not listen to the mainstream is detrimental to that child's future. Not to their health, not to their, their well-being. Because there's globe earthers that don't provide for their children. I'm sure flat earthers love their children just as much as globe earthers do. And so there would never be intentional abuse there. I don't think you're going to find intentional abuse towards children running rampant in the flat earth community just as much as you don't see it running rampant in the globe earth community. I think you're going to see probably statistically it's going to be about the same percentage of people who abuse their children in both sets of people. Yeah. So I don't think that I don't think it's good for the child, but I don't think that the law should step in. So I want everybody to summarize their points up one moment. I'm going to let it all go around, and then I'm going to end it at the very end. Let me get through this super chat. We just had I'm sorry. We have a few super chats to get through. Let me go ahead and take...
hey, before you do that, there's a few people in the chat asking who the Flat Earth Brothers are tomorrow. So tomorrow at 2 a.m. UK time, me and Team are going to be facing off against the Flat Earth Brothers on Modern Day Debates channel. And one of the Flat Earth Brothers is actually a teacher, which is interesting.
Hopefully English or something.
Psychology.
I'm not sure.
Well, Kent Hovind says he taught for a long time, so I still being a teacher. Well, yeah, I never really. I'm just saying he said that he's been a teacher for a long time, and that he taught like geographical stuff and earth sciences, I believe is the term he used. Okay, so let me get through the super chats real quick. Let's see. John Rapp for $5. My take. Discussions like this are the result of society protecting the stupid. Natural selection has been diverted, and we're still finding our way. I agree. I agree to some extent that that we have taken we've taken away certain aspects of natural selection from our community in order to make sure that everybody's opinion is valid. That flat earthers have a platform to speak on. Sure, you can fucking speak all you want, but right now when we coddle our youth and we have programs like the No Kid Left Behind, so we ensure that kids get pushed forward to harder and harder subjects without knowing the subject before it, we're going to continue to have flat earthers. We're going to we're going to continue to have flat earthers. We're going to continue to have anti-vaxxers, creationists. We're going to continue to have all these people who have a poor critical thinking skills and a bad grasp or grip on science. So, yes, I agree. Stephen Marshall for £5. JM Truth for Dumb Fuck of the Year. I think I said that one right.
Get out.
Stay, Stephen. You and John Rapp can both stay. Let's see. John Rapp, 5 Aussie dollars. Well done. JM Truth for Dumb Fuck of the Year. Lily for Sloppy Seconds. The Loser's Loser. Kyle is nothing to me and will be ignored. The real race is these two. Yes, agreed. Hold on 1 second. My son's needing me to come get him, so. Hey, I'll leave in a second. I'm finishing up my live stream, okay? Nope, I just hung up on him. Hope you heard that. Okay. I'm sure he did. If not, he'll know what's up that I answered and didn't talk. Let's see. In Flat Earth for $5. I love the voice. Oh, we already read this one, but I love the voice, but indoctrinating children into a cult belief should be punishable on some level because it is a form of psychological abuse. We never really got to that. Like the comparisons, maybe that's a topic we'll have to discuss next. Is Flat Earth a cult? Because if Flat Earth is a cult...
I've got a response to Planner Walk's video that he did in the works. And I think
Oh,
Sean
good.
does as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I was working on it, but then, a lot of stuff happened in the real world, so I kind of had to put it on back burner. But if you want some input on that, I'll be happy to help.
Yeah,
All right.
actually, I wouldn't mind. We have a chat over the next few days or something.
John Rapp for 2... Go ahead, Dapper. Go ahead.
I would say I would really like to see that because, I watched Planner Walk's video. I'm inclined to agree with him, but like for most things, I'm very willing to have that blown out of the water.
Well, here's the thing. Planner Walk is new to the whole Flat Earth thing. Again, been here for 5 years. I've seen a lot of things that Planner Walk hasn't seen where he said, no, this doesn't happen when it actually has happened.
Okay.
So his score was definitely low because he didn't know about certain things that has happened in the communities.
Well, and
Okay.
I haven't been a big part of this Flat Earth discussion really ever. So, yeah, I would love to see a video from either of you guys about that.
And we have John Rapp for 2 Aussie dollars. The best society's influence, not force. Agreed, 100%. 100%. 100%. Area 85 restorations. I can't agree with that more, actually. Because a lot of my opinions tonight might seem kind of oppressive towards flat earthers and their personal beliefs and their belief to be able to raise their children the way they want to. But I don't necessarily believe that. I was just trying to be
let's face it,
non-biased
all flat earthers
towards
should be
tonight.
sterilized.
I'm okay with that. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Area 85 restorations for $10. Let's see. Oh, let me move my this other thing because it's blocking it. If my dad hadn't encouraged my interest in science and hammered the importance of school into my head at a very young age, I would not be an engineer now. Just something to consider, maybe. You know what? I want to share a conversation I had with my son the other day because, guys, my son has been going through an emotionally tough time right now. All the guys out there will understand his girlfriend broke up with him. And at such a young age, he truly believed he was in love. And, as a dad, you'll want to be there with the tough, get over it. There'll be another girl, get over it. You're only going to be married. You're only going to be with one forever. The one that you're with forever, that's only one. So unless you plan on dating only one more person the rest of your life, get used to breaking up with girls and get used to them breaking up with you because it's going to fucking happen.
But you can still understand from his point of view. Come on, we all remember that very first girl that was your first love and
Agreed.
There's reasons behind it. When the chemicals that create that bond are first made, it makes that first love more intense. So if that was like the one that, his first love, then the breakup's gonna be tough. I remember it. Jessica Claridge, she was my world. And when she fucking broke up with me, I was like, there's nothing that could ever make it better. But, he'll get over it. But it's tough.
Well, the point of that was to say that when part of my suggestion to him was to keep his mind active, to start to do things and stay busy. And he hasn't really put forth a lot of effort into going into college. I'm not one to say, look, you better go to college or else. You got to get out of my house and do this and that. But I do encourage furthering education. And he came to me and asked me what I thought about it. He said, I want to get into teaching. I want to get into this and that. And I was like, don't do teaching, go STEM fields. Do something where you can make not just a lot of money and be in a good position to raise a family and whatnot, but also something that's growing. Not something that, like a teacher. Teachers are so underpaid and they have to deal with so much BS that I just talked about. So, point is, so I can get to go pick that little shit up. He's going back to college, or he's going to college, starting either next semester or in the summer. I'm super proud of him. I guess I just wanted to share that with you guys.
So you told him to go into STEM. So you told him to go into stem cells because it's growing,
STEM
or because
fields.
he'll make things STEM fields. So just you want to make a lot of things grow. So yeah, but then he can meet up with his STEM field wife that he creates in the lab, and
that's what. Hey, he doesn't have to create her in the lab, but if he could meet her in the lab, that would be amazing. If my goal, not my goal, but my want and desire for my kid. I mean,
what if he came home one day?
As long as she's not a flat earther.
I grew her. This is specimen B.
I don't give a fuck. She could be a slab of meat with a hole cut in it. As long as she's not a fucking flat earther, I'm okay with it.
This is my new wife. Her name's Petrie.
This is my new wife. Her name is a slab of Canadian bacon. That doesn't even sound right. Slab of ham. That sounds so much sexier. Okay, so let's get through this, guys. We still got to wrap it up. Our final thoughts. Kuyasa for 2,000 won. Is it won? Did you say?
Yeah, it's won. Yeah, it is won.
Shit. Feathers. I have no idea why he's so obsessed with feathers, but
that's for me.
Oh, dinosaur. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? We have pretty extensive skin impressions from Ceratosaurus nasicornis, which is what my avatar is. So until you can produce me some skin impressions that can be positively identified from at least Ceratosaurus as a genus, I'm not adding them to my model because there's evidence against it and no evidence for it. Sorry, Kuyasa.
There you go, Kuyasa. Just tag either me or Dapper and say challenge accepted, or I'm too scared to accept your challenge. Either one will work, Kuyasa.
I was reading a thing that was saying that our modern view of T-Rexes is actually completely wrong, and they actually looked much more like a massive bird.
It may well be. There have been some recent skin impressions found from a few places where we didn't have them before in T-Rex, and they showed reticulate scales and not feathers. But one of the problems is that the places where dinosaurs are most likely to have feathers, if they have a mix of scales and feathers, are the exact places we don't have the skin impressions from. So it's entirely possible that T-Rex is significantly feathery, but it's also actually possible it's just a scaly monster. So we're in sort of a flux right now, and so I would be okay with either reconstruction if someone made it. Like, you want a fluffy T-Rex, as long as you don't put the fluffiness where we know it wasn't, that's fine. But if you also want a fully scaly T-Rex...
I'm just picturing giant chickens.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, that's another thing, is people tend not to put very much soft tissue on dinosaurs. They might have been really fat. We wouldn't know.
Okay. So we have In Flat Earth for $2. Says Flat Earth is a disease, not a cure.
Yeah.
What?
Me, Sean Hufford, and Team Skeptic are the cure.
There you go. I can see that. Also, Kuyasa did tag us both, and he said, I'm a super wimp and too scared for your challenge. Well, there you go, Kuyasa.
Kuyasa's scared. All right, one more super chat. It's obviously... Translation Carminum. Translation Carminum. It's obviously different in a couple of important ways, but I can't help but wonder how the issue compares to teaching kids about Santa Claus. Well, okay, so... again, I said this earlier.
Right.
Santa Claus.
I've got a thought on that, actually, because I actually have kids that age. So.
Okay. Well, so my argument stems. My argument stems from the same thing I said earlier about the difference between believing in religion, and believing in the flat Earth. Religion cannot be demonstrably proven right or wrong. Flat Earth has been demonstrably proven wrong. Mic drop. Same thing to Santa Claus. You couldn't. I mean, we know that Santa Claus is not real, but the idea of Santa Claus is an idea. It's not really.
Are you telling me I'm supposed to buy my own presents for my kids? Fuck.
But now that I think about it, wow, that is actually a good question.
Yeah, don't you think this would mean that Santa gets all the credit? Like,
I guess forcing your
But,
kid to get a fucking Santa tattoo is abuse.
But I've got one. My boy's 11, and my little girl's 6. And Struan, my boy, he's already figured out that the Tooth Fairy isn't real. You know, a few years ago, he's like, "Yeah, you just give me that money, don't you?" I was like, "Yes, Struan, I do." Because if either of them straight out ask me about, I think after 6, Violet's 6. So from now on, if Violet asks me straight out, Santa's not real, is it? I'll go, no, you're right, Santa's not real. Because
Right.
I feel like she's figured it out on her own. But, you know, to kind of keep up the it's not really a lie, it's more of like injecting a bit of magic into the season. But I think if a child straight up says to you, I don't think Santa's real, or I don't think the Tooth Fairy's real, then I'd feel bad going, no, of course Santa's real. Magic's not real, apart from in this occasion when I've decided it is real.
Yeah. All right.
So if Struan or Violet this year came to me and said, is Santa, real or not? I'd be like, no.
Teaching flat earth to children should be legally considered child abuse.
Reprehensible, yes. Legally considered child abuse, no. Done.
God, you summed shit up so fucking perfect. Good shit. Dapper, follow fucking Sean Hufford's fucking example and sum it up now. Have you changed your mind based on what Fight the Flat Earth has said?
No, I think I understand him better, though, and I think we actually disagree less than perhaps I thought we might have. But I agree with Sean Hufford there that basically, yeah, it's definitely not okay to teach your kids flat Earth, but I don't think it should be per se legally actionable. Also, hey, if you liked me or my discussion, come check out my channel because I do mostly creation stuff. So
I have put Dapper Dino's link in the description, guys. So head over to Dapper Dino's channel, give him a sub. Great discussion, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Fight the Flat
I had a
Earth.
lot of fun.
Definitely gonna have to get you back on again if you can learn to not cut me off. Fight the. Did you just fucking cut me off again to say sorry? Wow. The nerve of some dinosaurs these days. Okay, Fight the Flat Earth. Just kidding. Love you, Dapper. Fight the Flat Earth. How about you, man? Have you changed your mind on your position? Or would you like to re-clarify your position, maybe? And you don't have to.
Yes, I think I'd like to re-clarify my position.
Okay.
Because it's not quite as simple as a blanket statement of teaching your kids that the Earth is flat is child abuse. There's a lot more nuance to it. It has to be judged on a case by case basis. But I do think that there is points where authorities need to step in, depending on how far it goes and how much it affects that child's life. So yeah, I should re-clarify my statement. Frankly, I think teaching anything pseudoscience is extremely wrong. And if it affects the child's life, then I think it is child abuse.
All right, good deal. Well, I guess I'm going to give my point on this, and we're going to end it at that. I want to first say thank you to Fight the Flat Earth and to Dapper Dino for both coming on here and having a very civil discussion.
Pleasure.
Again, Dapper, I can't fucking agree with you more, man. Having civil conversation is much more enjoyable on our end. It might not be as enjoyable for the audience to be able to sit and listen to people how, intellectually discuss something. But, of course, they'd rather see us all take dumps in our hands and throw it at each other, which is for the after show, guys. I'll be putting in my hand and throwing it at everybody.
Look at my hands.
That's why I'm challenging you to the shit throwing contest completely, because I know that you have little tiny ass arms. Easy win. It's like throwing chocolate snowballs.
Your primate arms are much better suited.
It's true. Well, we'll also have a chomping sheep in half with your teeth in one bite competition, and then we'll see who wins that.
Wow, I'm totally not genetically prepared for that challenge. Okay, so I do have to agree with Dapper Dino and Sean on this. I do believe that teaching flat Earth to children is extremely detrimental. If you're a flat earther out there and you have children, you need to listen to what I have to say. because I say this to anybody that talks about wanting to get out of poverty and to get out of struggles. And I say, look, if you're trying to do it for yourself, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You'll never get out of poverty. If you have a motivation for it, if you do it for your children, if you do it for, for the future of your, your family, then you're going to find motivation in doing things like furthering your education, getting out of poverty, things of that nature. You should never try to get yourself out of poverty. You should always try to set your children up to make sure that they are not being raised in poverty, or they're not growing up to be impoverished when they become adults, by teaching them ideas such as the flat earth, or not vaccinating them, or one of a million things you can teach your children, coming from an extremely biased and uneducated point of view, just because you have an emotional tie to that belief system. The earth is not flat, guys. If you're a flat earther, you're a fucking idiot. Accept the fact that you're a fucking idiot and ensure that your children are not going to be the same fucking idiot, the same type of idiots that you are. That is what this discussion is really about, because no matter what the position of any person on this panel is, no matter anything that any person on here might have said or pointed out or brought up as an example, we all can agree 100% that this is all about the children. It's ensuring that children are not put in a position to struggle or to have a harder life than they already unfortunately have as children. Not being able to support themselves, having to take support from their parents, not being able to critically think, having to understand and learn things from their parents. That is the basis of tonight's discussion. And it's a very emotional topic for someone who's invested in that. For me, it's not so much because I'm not a flat earther. If I was a flat earther, I'm sure I would be holding a different position on this. But unfortunately, even though I can disagree with the flat earth concept, even though I can disagree with it being taught to children, I do not think it is in any way, shape, or form the government's responsibility to step in and force the children out of the parents' homes and out of their care, simply because they want to teach the children of flat earth. If there's mitigating circumstances, the other circumstances that add on to it's, there's evidence of physical abuse here and there's evidence of malnutrition there. If all these added up and they're teaching them flat earth, obviously let's go in and pull the children out. But I don't think that if you came across a child who is just being taught flat earth, that you could ever make the distinction between that child and a child who is, sitting next to them just on a blind study based on looking at them. With that, I think I'm fucking done. Oh, okay. Surf, one more super chat, $5. Surf, I was really late. Sorry. Twinkie emoji. All right, Surf, well, you have a long fucking video to catch up on. Everybody, thank you for coming out. All the people in the live chat, thank you for coming out tonight. I do truly appreciate it. Y'all have a great night, and we are the fuck out. Oh my god, I should have done my team. All right, guys, everybody, we're gonna do a proper outro because I fucked it up not doing my normal outro because I gotta go get my kid. I'm Team Skeptic, and I'm out.